I'm Danny, and this is the Scream Princess podcast. Hello there, everybody. I'm Danny, and you are watching or listening to the Scream Princess podcast. And I've got a super special guest today, Elly Prizeman, who has she's been newly appointed as one of the directors of the Essex Witch Museum, which is a museum that is not quite open yet, I think. Am I right?
You're right.
I'm
Not
right.
yet. We have
So
a venue,
we
but it's
hope
not open.
there's a venue, they're raising funds, but you're going to learn all about it and then hopefully you'll be super excited to go and visit. I feel like I'm already excited about this. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Super busy because
Good.
it's obviously spooky season, so
Yes,
it's all going on.
yes. Before we get into it all though, I want to talk about how we met. So we met, and I don't know what year it was now. And it was it was a photo shoot
It
to
was.
advertise Horror on Sea Film Festival, which I think I probably mention in every single podcast because everybody involved in the horror world in the UK goes to Horror on Sea. And I think it was before I'd even had a film in there. So it's got to be going back like, well, over 10 years
Yeah.
because I feel like I didn't really know anybody. I didn't know Paul, the director at the time, and he'd messaged me. I think I had a film going into the festival that next January, and he'd asked me to be part of the photo shoot. And so I kind of turned up in Southend, not knowing anybody, and you were one of the models on the shoot.
I was.
You were, but you're not Southend based.
No, but I'm not that far from Southend. So I'm like kind of Danbury way.
Right, I have no clue where that is. But yeah, no, I'm because so you were a kind of pin-up model, and then I know you were designing clothes for a while.
I
So I feel
was.
like we all kind of wear lots and lots of different hats. Like everybody I speak to has done so many different things. So what have you done that's led you up to where you are now?
Oh, no, that's a good question. So yes, I was doing clothing and stuff for a while. I had some incredible opportunities.
Mm.
But then I started managing a little witchy shop. So you know the
Wow.
types that you get like
Yes.
crystals, tarot, incense,
Yeah,
stuff
so
like
I
that.
love them. My boyfriend hates them. He always walks out. I'm like, where are you going? He's like, because they all sell the same thing. You're going to go around and you're going to buy more crystals you don't need. And I was like, but I do need. This is where you are
You
wrong.
do need them.
I do
You
need
do need
all.
them.
I
Yeah.
do.
I don't have this one. I need it in my
Yeah,
collection,
exactly.
obviously.
Exactly. And now he's got another house. So I was like, well, then I can put them in your house too.
They're pretty.
They're pretty. They help you with life, like the
Yeah.
healing. Like, what more could you need?
Exactly. But that's where this kind of all stemmed from was the witchy shop in Chelmsford. Um, Now I am a practicing witch, I have been for years.
Right.
So I'm quite passionate about it. And then when
Mm.
I was running the shop, for years I'd heard bits and pieces about some of the witch trials and what went on in Essex.
Mm.
So then my hyper focus kicked in and I had to find out absolutely everything I could.
Yeah.
And it is wild. It is wild. So I
Yeah.
started putting on some events. Really, those are going incredibly well. And I do talks for people's groups and things like that. And then I was approached by the Essex Witch Museum. We had a chat about how we could help each other work together because the cause is the same, the passion is the same. And so they invited me on board, and we've got some incredibly exciting things going
Amazing.
on. So it's, yeah, that's why I'm now apparently the authority on
Woohoo.
Essex witch history.
Well, honestly, because I was like, I'm coming up to obviously October. Obviously, we're filming this, it's still September, but coming up to October, it's coming to spooky season. I was thinking, oh, who can I get on for spooky season? And then it literally popped up on my feed that you'd now been made a director. And I was like, perfect. So I know like everybody has like a fascination in witches. And I know like even for me as a little girl, I was obsessed with like witches, like cartoons with witches and books with witches. And I just found them fascinating. I kind of, always did until I also, do the bits and pieces myself. So why do you think people are so fascinated? I mean, because it's different, is that there's like, there's witchcraft that is real that people still practice today. There's like your kind of, magical film witchcraft where, all kinds of, turning people into frogs and what have you. But then there's like this, the history of witchcraft, which is, where women were accused for, all sorts of different reasons when they've absolutely done nothing wrong. So,
it is weird. So there's always been a fascination,
Mm.
and I think going back to like the trials and the persecutions, they a lot of them probably weren't even witches, if we're
No.
honest. They were also just God fearing people. It's just they were in wrong place, wrong time, wrong
Yeah.
era. But I think there's always the romantic side of it, the fascination with witches and
Mm.
witchcraft, I think, is because it's like, oh, it's otherworldly, and oh, if
Yeah.
I put my energy into this, maybe I can make cool things happen in my life and have this talisman.
Mm.
It's a really nice practice, though. It's very
Mm.
peaceful, it's very loving, it's very light, and trying to be a sort of a bit of positive mindset. And then kind of like,
Mm.
if it helps you, the little rituals and the spell work that you do, then there's
Yeah.
no issue with it really. But I think there's been a fact. It's in the olden days, it was trying to explain something that you couldn't explain because they didn't
Mm.
have the knowledge and the science and the medicine and stuff we have now. So if something
Yeah.
weird happened, it's magic, and
Yeah.
they truly believed it was magic, which is adorable. But
Not so
no,
much if you were then, locked up for
yeah,
it when you were,
no.
trying to help somebody.
Yeah, but it's funny because you saying earlier you were really into witches and stuff.
Mm.
The modern imagery we see of Halloween witches does actually stem from the history of the witch trials.
Mm.
Um, when they were imprisoned, they were often imprisoned for about 6 months at a time. Dental was not what it was. People would have
Mm.
been missing teeth. If you are left in a cell to slowly rot for months at a time and malnutritioned, your skin starts to take that green tinge. You're very emaciated. You're very like hunched over and ill. And then this is where the cartoon witch comes from, to have why they've got green skin, why they're all gnarly, why they've got teeth missing, is because of these genuine cases of people that their skin did go green because they were fucking sick.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I've never actually heard it described like that before.
Yeah, it is wild. It is wild, but like it's something that people enjoy at Halloween, and I get it. Let's like try and not make people depressed.
But I think like when we were little, I had this conversation with people, but Halloween wasn't like the big deal it is now. So you couldn't go to a shop and buy a Halloween costume. So it was the bin bag witch. Like
Yeah,
everybody's mum put them in a bin bag, and you might have had a mask and a hat, but you'd have been wearing a bin bag. And I feel like that was the same for everybody,
yeah,
up until maybe the last like 20 years or something, where it's become like more of a thing and easier to find stuff. But witches were always the one, weren't they, that they
yeah,
associated most, I think.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
witches
it's funny
around
as well that
Halloween.
they're always in black because everyone demonizes the color black and they're like, "Oh, it's evil."
Yeah, I just think it's slimming.
100%.
And it goes with everything.
It goes with everything, and also in magic terms, if you're into color magic, black is the color of protection, so it's
Yeah,
actually a really positive thing. It's not sinister at all.
yeah. Banishing negativity.
100%.
That is very true. That is very true. That is very true. So I think everybody has heard of like the Salem witch trials. So that's like the most famous witch trials. And I grew up in Norfolk, so East Anglia myself, and you had like we heard of like Matthew Hopkins, and I think it was the same for Essex. He was the one who was, I think it was the whole of like the East Anglia region. So it was like Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex, Cambridge, and he kind of was this kind of, I don't even know how he got that job or how he got that title,
I
but
can tell you
you
both.
can
I can
tell
answer
me.
both of those questions.
Perfect.
So yeah, Matthew Hopkins, he came from like Manningtree way, which is kind of on the way to Colchester. He was self-appointed as a witchfinder general.
Ah.
He bestowed that title upon himself, and it was because he had struck up some bargains with local councillors in local villages that if he found a witch and got her to confess, he'd get
Mhm.
paid for it.
Ah.
So it was in his best interests to persecute as many women as he possibly could to line his pockets.
Mm.
Um, he was also highly, highly religious. He was like chief of the Puritans back then in
Mm.
that era in the 17th century, but it was completely self bestowed. It was
Mm.
not a title given to him by someone else.
Right.
But
So,
there were three sets of witch trials in Essex, and his was the last and the worst.
right. Because I've got here written down. So between 1560 and 1735, over 100 were executed for witchcraft. 30 over 30 died in prison, and there were like over 900 accused.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So is that just
Um,
him trying to go around making money? He's like, well, you look a bit witchy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
basically. But it's mad because if you compare those numbers with the Salem witch trials,
Mm.
they are like 4 times as
Yeah.
large. Yeah,
Yeah,
Essex
because
was.
Salem wasn't actually as high a number as a lot of the UK. The Scotland as well. Like I spent a little bit of time living in Scotland and kind of going to, museums and things there. You learned that there was a massive thing about witches in Scotland as well, witch trials, and Pendle in the north in Lancashire.
Yes, I went there to see why they call it the witchiest place in England, and
Yeah,
they've properly made a thing out of it. It's a huge
yeah.
tourist, and they've got those little brown tourist signs for
Yeah, with
people
the
to come.
witches. I've done the hike twice. You can do the walk, the Pendle Witches walk, where they walked them basically to wear them
Yeah,
out until
yeah,
they confessed to witchcraft because they were so exhausted and in pain. But I
yeah.
did it once. I had a photo shoot in the area and I thought, oh, I'll tie it in. And this was like in a January and it was freezing. The fields were sodden. You're walking through all these sheep fields. They were sodden. I was by myself and I was at one point, I was up to my ankles in like bog. And I was thinking, God, if I literally got lost out here, nobody would find me. Nobody really knows where I am. And I'm like, literally have not seen any people. So that was probably a bit silly on my part because I am a seasoned hiker and I should know better. But I did it again this summer. I did the same thing. I had another photo shoot and I took my boyfriend and I said, well, make a weekend of it and actually did the walk in on a nice day. And it's a completely different atmosphere. So you can
Yeah,
imagine the women that did it at one time of year and the women that did it another time of year. I mean, it'd been horrible for them either way, but it's like it was much spookier, I think, in the winter.
yeah. I went in February actually,
Mm.
so yeah, I had the same experience. It was freezing, really eerie.
Yeah.
But when you look at the numbers of Pendle, they actually killed 10 people in over 3 days, and that was
Mm.
it. That was the
Yeah.
entirety of their trials.
Mm.
It was because they used King James had written a book about demonology and how to hunt witches.
Mm.
That's why it was so famous. And also, to be fair, with Pendle and Salem, they've still got all the historical sites that exist, so you
Mm.
can go and see it as it was back then when it
Like
happened.
Lancaster Castle and
Yeah, exactly. Even like Pendle Hill itself
mm,
and the Salem, all the buildings and the historic sites, they are still there. Whereas Essex, they're not there anymore as they were.
yeah.
And people don't really know they're that's what they were used for back in the
Mm.
15th, 16th and 17th centuries.
Yeah, so
But it's
essentially
well, cause,
buildings have been knocked down now. Because it's like when you do
yeah,
the Jack the Ripper walk in London and they're like, well, this used to be, but now it's a car park and this used to be
yeah,
something else. And
yeah.
now it's, so you're trying to imagine like, what things look like back then. But that's why
So
you're there to,
you mentioned Scotland earlier as well, because the last person to ever actually be trialed under the Witchcraft Act was in 1944 from Scotland.
that's crazy, isn't it?
Isn't it?
1944, someone was tried for witchcraft.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was
Why?
illegal. I was looking on the website, your website, and it said it was illegal to cause harm by witchcraft, but it wasn't illegal to be a witch. But just was it?
Yeah, that's
Or
right. Yeah,
right,
so you could be trialed for witchcraft, but if you'd never actually killed anybody or caused harm to anybody, then you were either just pardoned or fined. But
right.
as if they could prove that you'd harmed someone,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
which
I guess it's
it was
difficult.
wild times. It was wild times. Could you think like poverty and sickness and like bad shit
Yeah,
happened all the time, and it's like, oh, it was fucking Ethel down the road. She did it because she looked at
yeah,
me funny the other day.
yeah. God, I have the worst resting bitch face. So the amount of people who would have accused me, I think I'd have been burnt at the stake. Well, they didn't burn them though, did they?
No,
Here,
no,
no.
they didn't.
So
We hanged them here.
them.
Burning was like a European and an American thing.
Right.
Um, we liked to hang people in the UK.
Uh, there is a tree when I was in Scotland called the Capon tree, and that has myths that they used to hang the witches from it. But then I've looked into it, and apparently that it's not true. But it's a
There's
spooky
also a
tree.
tree in Mistley where Matthew Hopkins started his reign of terror.
Right.
It's a 1,000-year-old oak tree called Old Nobbly. It's
Old
been struck by
Nobley.
I know it's cute. It's been struck by lightning twice. It's still alive.
Wow.
And that tree was where he hung his first few victims, and that is proven. Like he did actually hang his first few witches from that
I feel like
tree.
they should call it something less cute.
I know,
Old
poor old.
Nobly.
But there are witches, like modern witches now, that still go and leave
Mm.
remember things at the tree every year, which
Yeah,
is
this
nice.
is the thing about witches. They're actually really nice. They leave
I know.
tributes, they leave flowers, incense.
Yeah,
I feel like people, they're misrepresented, I think, for the
it
most part.
is, but the reason it's misrepresented is all unfortunately down to religion.
Mm,
Because when the Christian-based religions were coming into their own, they did whatever they could possible to try and convince people to join the church and move away from their old beliefs.
yeah, but
Uh,
they came along and stole all of the festivals anyway and just
yeah,
made them their own. So it's not like like the real religions, like the newer religions, Christianity, have come along with anything to kind of back up their practice. They've just gone, oh, well,
we've got
we'll
this.
make it Christmas, we'll
Yeah,
like, Samhain, we'll Halloween, like,
yeah,
they just take, Easter.
yeah.
They're all
All
basically taken.
Yeah, but it was to try and convince people to change religions.
Mm,
But it's wild. I love it because whenever I go into Chelmsford Centre, if there's these group of very hardcore Christian people that shout with megaphones, and obviously I'm the obvious target for them,
yeah.
and they always come and harangue me, and I'm very polite. And whenever they accuse me of worshipping Satan and cavorting with the devil, I always like to very calmly point out that both devils and demons are a Christian based concept, not a pagan. Because
Yeah.
pagan, we don't have the devil, we don't have any of that. And then I like to kind of just twist the knife in a little bit more and explain to them that Satanism is actually a Christian based religion because it is it is a Satan based
Yeah.
worship, which is Christian based. And that if they were to look up in the Bible under the chapter Jericho, it does actually say about Christmas trees not being encouraged to take into your home as a Christian practitioner.
You shouldn't take Christmas trees into your home.
Nope, because it's pagan practice. But
Ah,
I bet you everyone that isn't
yes.
even about Christian has a Christmas tree at Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, I have a Christmas tree, but just because I like Christmas. Just
Same.
just I like presents and I like food. So,
Yeah, and it
yes,
looks
I still have
pretty.
Christmas. I'll keep the Christmas, but I'll celebrate it like our way. So when did you start doing your walks?
A year ago,
A year
actually, a year
ago.
ago this month, September, I set it up just to see if
Mm,
people want to listen to me wang on about the Essex Witch history, and it turns out they do. And my events
yeah,
always sell out, which is amazing.
yeah.
I've added loads of as I've rediscovered stuff. The important thing for me as well is not only to let people know about what happened and where, and the numbers, but also to try and get the factual information. So everything I talk about happened, which frustrates me because the actual Chelmsford Museum itself, the small little plaque they've got about the Essex Witch history is
Mm,
incorrect.
right.
So we're on a bit of a mission to try and get them to correct it at the moment.
Amazing. So that's been there for years and they got it wrong.
Yeah, but that is going to change. I mean, it has to change, especially with the museum opening. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see.
But yeah, do you know Sid Moore? She's a writer. And
Yes.
yeah,
So I've not met her, but I'm
right.
speaking at a panel with her in a couple of weeks, actually.
Oh, she's lovely. Say hi. So
I
she's
will.
actually like I've met her when I was writing for Haunted magazine. I interviewed her about one of her books, but she actually has been to, I don't think Horror on Sea, but I think the Southend Film Festival galas. So I actually met her there. It's like it's such a small world, isn't it? But she's got a series on an Essex Witch Museum, but it was like a fictitious one. So I'm loving, I like that's the first thing I thought of when I, saw that you were doing it. I was like, oh, it's like the books. Because
I
I
know.
did think that would be a really cool place to exist. Yeah.
Really, I'm nervous about meeting her because she is like one of the pinnacle people in this kind of information sharing. She really knows her shit. So yeah, I'm nervous but excited to be on a
You'll be
panel with her.
fine. You'll be
It'll be
fine.
fine. Yeah, she seems lovely.
She's
Everyone I
very
know that's
nice.
met her says
Yeah.
she's lovely, so
Yeah,
it'll
she
be
is.
fine.
She is. She is. I think like when I met her, she had a Wizard of Oz dress on as well. She'd had it made and it had like Dorothy and the poppies. And I was like, wow.
Wow, that's cool.
I know. And obviously Rylan and Professor Alice Roberts are now about to do a TV series as well. So you're like, is everything kind of at the right time? Do you feel like that happens as well? It's like it's got like so much more kind of buzz about, Essex Witches after his TV show that's like the perfect timing for this museum to happen.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, the museum itself's been in the making for 4 years.
Right.
The original directors and volunteers have spent 4 years in the records office getting everything as factual as possible.
Hmm.
I'm nervous about the documentary coming out because I have a feeling, because I have some inside information I'm not allowed to share. But I've heard that I don't think they've got the history correct, which
Oh,
I'm a
oh.
bit heartbroken about.
Well, then you
But
can go on record and put them right.
I know, I just wish they'd have maybe spoken to the museum when they started filming,
Mm.
because it's going to break my heart.
I get it wrong. I think it's a really odd choice. Like I get that Ryland's from Essex and I really like him, but I was like, you don't see him as like a serious documentary maker. Maybe this is like going to change his career, which I think this would be really good for him. And I think also what's good is he'll bring a different demographic to watching the show. Like Professor Alice
Yeah,
Roberts will have like people that want to see documentaries and that want to, learn things. Whereas he's got a fan base that is, completely elsewhere, but they will watch it. So I think in a way that's really good that it's like clever pairing.
yeah.
Mm.
I will watch it, and I'm interested to see how
Yeah.
they do it. EA is just gonna break my heart if when they say the wrong thing.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes though, with documentaries they say what they want people to hear as well? They say like what they think people want
Sometimes,
to hear. They kind of their own take
sometimes
on the truth sometimes.
it's frustrating though in those instances because it's like it's fake news.
Fake news. So the
But
women
we'll
that
see.
were go on.
We'll,
No, you said you were going to sit through it. I was going to say the women who were accused, like, so it could be like, like you said, somebody looked at them funny or, but is there any other reason like people were particularly accused?
yes, many. Strangely, there were three professions that made you really one of the first points of call for having an accusation thrown at you.
Mm.
If you were a healer or a medicine woman, you were accused. If you were a midwife, you were often accused.
Hmm.
And also spinner. It's also where the word spinster
Bitter.
comes from. Well, yeah, if you were a spinner. The reason was for the spinner element is if you had any kind of physical deformity, you
Right,
were suspicious. And
right.
if you've been using a spinning wheel for most of your working
Mm.
career, and remember they started work a lot younger back
Yeah.
then than now, you would end up with physical deformities like
Mm.
gnarled fingers and hunched over
Yeah.
and like
Well, but now we'll know Noel's fingers would be like an arthritis that a lot of people develop anyway. But if you are doing something with your hands, you're going to get it much sooner.
yeah, yeah. But any physical defect
Mm.
usually put you in the firing line.
Mm.
But yeah, there were obviously the healer because it was like suspicious because
Well,
what
also, if somebody didn't get well, then they'd get blamed for the death. And
yeah,
the same with midwives, I guess.
yeah,
If because like mortality rate in infants was high then,
yep,
and that was due to like cleanliness and lack of everything else that they didn't have. But it
yeah.
would be the midwife's fault rather than natural.
Yeah, because they needed a scapegoat. They
Yeah,
needed to understand why their children were
yeah.
dying.
Which makes you wonder then why those women were like, I'm going to become a midwife. I'd be like, no, deal with your own baby.
Yeah, I
Off
know.
you go.
But there are reports that I've read a few stories about people that were midwives that tried to refuse attending births because
Mm,
they'd already had fingers pointed at them
yeah.
previously. But then they have the pressure put on them by the village
Mm,
that help, you need to help. They'll reluctantly help and then get freaking put in a cell anyway,
yeah.
regardless. So you can't win.
And they used to go around pricking the witches or the so-called witches to
Yeah.
test. So how did that work?
So that was a Matthew Hopkins thing. He was renowned for it.
Mm,
They created so he worked alongside someone else called John Stern and then a group of women. Um, they created these retractable blades and retractable needles,
Mm.
you know, like see in the charity, in the joke shops where you
Yeah,
get
like
those.
so, like a film injection type thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly that. If you were stabbed with a needle or a blade and you didn't bleed, you were a witch.
right.
Again, it was a way to prove someone was by having these
Yeah,
retractable blades. You'd give them a yoink and nothing would happen.
yeah.
So, oh, you're up.
Wow. And
Yeah.
did we do the sink or swim thing here?
Yes. Do you know
Yeah.
where that comes from?
I don't. I know there's a bridge in Norwich called Phi Bridge, and rumor has it they used to sink or swim the witches from there. But I don't know
Yeah.
where the no, I don't know where it came from.
So yeah, it's also called swimming. They call it swimming, and
Mm,
obviously the idea is if you're a devout religious Christian, you sink because you're accepted into the gates of heaven and live your pure life on
right.
the other side. If you were a witch, you were repelled from the water because you were evil. But they would bless the water first. So it was to do with baptism and renouncing your baptism if you were cavorting with the devil.
Right.
So it was a trial by water affair because if you were holy and had been baptized and were still loyal to it, you would just be accepted.
But then he drowned.
Yes. So it was
So
a no win.
either way, it's not a
Either
good
way,
outcome.
no.
No, doesn't seem wise.
No. But again, it's very primitive times and understandings of things.
Mm,
So they wholeheartedly believe that was a fair trial.
yeah. But why do people believe like Matthew Hopkins obviously knew it wasn't, and the people he was working with, they knew it wasn't. So they were just crooks. They were just literally,
Don't even know if they were crooks. I think as a religious aspect, they probably, and this is speculation, and they probably believed that it was a genuine trial, that if you had been baptized and were true to your faith, you were happy to go. You were happy
yeah.
to
But I
go
mean,
to,
with the pricking, like he knew that was
oh,
fake.
oh, yeah, but he's trying to earn a crust, isn't he? He wants
Yeah.
money. He
But then
wants money.
I would think, well, I am like pulling a fast one here, and I probably won't go to heaven if I was, a religious 1500s type person. Like, like so would he not worry for his own soul?
No, because they truly believed they were doing a good service. They were doing the
Mm.
Lord's work by diminishing the numbers of witches.
It's funny how the Lord's work causes so much issues
It
in
was.
in all of the world, in all of the years, in all of the years.
But it was depending on who'd upset you. Like
Yeah,
Susan Road, my milk went funny. Must have been her fault because she was out at the same time. Or
yeah.
if you were too outspoken, too opinionated, weren't married, walked funny, had a birthmark, like anything, it was just, yeah, very wild times.
Mm. Yeah, it makes you think you just want a job where you stay at home and behave yourself.
Yeah,
Not go out.
perfection.
Yeah. So how did the museum come about? Because I know it's all women, isn't it, that are directors and
It is, yeah, it is all women.
girl power.
So the managing director who set this up, bless her,
Mm.
Emma, um, through COVID, she was very poorly and she got laid off work for a bit as well. And she has an interest in it anyway because of
Mm.
like, her lifestyle as well. So she started doing a little same. The same happened with my interest in
Mm.
it as well. You start picking away at a little bit of information, you end up down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Then she ended up going actually and researching the information in the records office and finding out all this stuff and all the firsts that
Mm.
were pinnacle for Essex themselves. And then a team of other people got involved and she made it her mission to want to set up an actual physical museum because it's a piece of history that people have seemed to have forgotten about or
Mm.
even knew it existed, as bad as it was. And it was an educational, people need to know about this because we're all kind of passionate about our roots and our
Yeah.
history. And so that's where she looked into setting an actual physical entity up where people can go and learn about it and see really how bad it was.
Mm. Have any of you, I mean, you're all from the area. Have you ever like looked into your family tree to see if you've got any kind of links to any of the witches?
No one has. So I'm a bit of a charlatan because I'm not from the area.
Oh, where are you from then, originally?
Imposter.
You're an imposter, an Essex imposter.
I am. I mean, I've been down here since the late 90s, so
Right.
probably an honorary Essex girl now, but I'm from
Yeah.
the Isle of Man originally.
Welcome back to the Screen Princess podcast.
So I should actually have warned you this actually in the first half of two things. One, my doorbell might go, I'm expecting a package, so if it does, I may have to run off and come back. And two, if I do just hear screaming at any point, there's an unresolved issue involving a giant house spider and a cat from last night that I still haven't gotten to the bottom of. So I'm expecting something to jump out at me from somewhere. So it was one of those evenings. I managed to sleep in my bedroom despite thinking there is actually a giant house spider in there somewhere. But anyway, not a fan. So the Witch Museum is, well, are you going to kind of focus primarily on all of the history of the witchcraft and Essex witch trials, or will there be kind of modern folklore and modern witchcraft in there too?
We're hoping to amalgamate all of it in one
Mm,
place. Predominantly, obviously, the museum artifacts and the displays will be about the
mm,
history, but we will also be incorporating because there's lots of folklore around here. I'm friends with a few people that are like oral storytellers, so
mm.
they hold events where they tell all the old folky stories and stuff.
Oh,
It's
wow.
wonderful. So we're hoping to try and do some collaborations with stuff
Mm,
as well. Have things in our gift shop like little spell bags, modern magic books,
yeah.
that people that modern witches like to practice and are interested in or
Mm,
just want to learn about. We'll have a bit
mm.
of everything, hopefully. It's just trying to get everything together, get it
Yeah.
in place, figure out how it all works. But it would be nice because it is still very much I mean, if anything, I would say witchcraft itself is actually witchcraft now rather than the history.
Mm, yeah.
So yeah, it'd be nice to have it all.
Yeah. And what kind of objects and documents do you hope to be able to exhibit?
We've got some really cool artifacts that we've just recently had confirmed that they are from the right era and obviously from Essex.
Mm,
So they will be on display. Hopefully, some scenes that we can get out, some of the old woodcutter drawings. If you ever look at Essex Witches and the images, you get these really nice little line basic drawings of some of the scenes.
mm-hmm.
Some of those, some stories on plaques and things like that. We have got an event coming up that's finally been announced yesterday. I'm allowed to talk about, but we're holding a pop-up museum in Chelmsford
Oh, wow.
in October half term. So
Mm-hmm.
Chelmsford has this theme for October half term every year, run by the city council,
Mm-hmm.
and they have these inflatables and trails, and kids can take part and stamp
Right.
off things. And this year, for the next 2 years, it's going to be Witch Week,
Oh,
which is
wow.
super exciting. There is a huge building at the top of Chelmsford High Street called Shah Hall, which is a Victorian building, so it's later dated,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a really cool, old, impressive building. Was a courthouse, and they're
Right.
allowing us to have an actual physical pop-up museum in this building.
Amazing.
So we will be able to sell literature, try and offer some sort of fundraising,
Mm-hmm.
and as well as have little kind of gimmicky things as well for
Yeah.
modern witches or modern aesthetics, like little spell bags and books and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So yeah, it's super exciting. Finally got released publicly, so we've got a lot to do to set it up.
Yeah. Yeah, not long now then. How do you go about finding artifacts? Like, do you just trawl online? Do you like go around weird
I
antique
don't
shops?
know.
Like, how do you find stuff?
I'm not sure where our managing directors acquired the artifacts from and where she starts out with stuff like that. I think she has with a couple of things, um, looked on eBay and
Mhm.
sort of vintage selling sites. There's lots of oh god, what on earth do you call Battlesbridge? There's loads of like antique places around
Yeah,
here.
like antiques emporiums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trawling through stuff and seeing where, trying to get it dated, because
Mm.
she took the most recent artifact. We've got a cauldron. We've got an actual cold 17th century
Wow,
cauldron, which has been
that's really
confirmed.
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But what would that have been then? A cooking pot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They
that's
were
what
all
people.
used in all households.
Mm.
it wasn't necessarily if you were a witch. Everyone used cauldrons. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, if you have a crock pot these days, you've got a modern cauldron.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Even a saucepan, I guess.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they didn't have a stove, did they? They cooked on like the fire. So,
yeah,
we're
yeah,
cooking, we're cooking. Did you actually see in TK Maxx and Home Bargains, they had cast iron cauldrons that you just put on the stove. I didn't
yeah.
buy one, and now I'm questioning why I didn't. I'm
Uh,
like, why didn't
no,
I buy one of those? I feel like it would just be a bit heavy for me to do cooking and I'd have some kind of accident.
yeah, yeah.
So,
It's an amazing aesthetic, but not massively
yeah, not
practical.
no, no. My boyfriend instead bought me a one that says Hocus Pocus, and it's meant to it's like so I can put a plant in it, but it means I get to buy another plant.
Oh
But
no.
he didn't think that through either. Yes, I love going for a browse around an antiques emporium, but I mean you've got to know what you're looking for as well, because sometimes you go into those places and there's so much stuff that like you don't know what half of it is. So you
No.
must really, if there's like little implements or whatever, it must be really hard to find stuff.
Yeah.
And how do you go
I
about
think
dating a cauldron?
so there is an antiques event that happens in Essex where there are actual experts and people that will either do valuations and confirmation of dating things. So Emma took all of the things that she had been acquiring and had them all professionally dated,
Mm.
and all of them were accurate and good and
Oh.
authentic,
On
which
the
is
like not so
awesome.
nice side, I recently went to somewhere called Chillingham Castle. It's in the
Right.
northeast, and they've got like lots of like they've got a torture room with all these torture things, but they actually had a barrel that they would roll people accused of witchcraft with pins in it and like
Yeah,
roll them down the
big
hill.
rolling
It's
barrel.
really
Yeah,
thick. Yeah, they had one of those barrels there,
yeah.
but there's
It
like
would be awesome if we could find some of the testing devices, like the refractive
mm,
daggers and things. But yeah,
yeah, I mean.
who knows? You never
Where,
know.
yeah, like even if they still exist, like I don't because there's a witchcraft museum in Boscastle, isn't there? Have you been to it?
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
been.
No, I haven't
I
either.
don't know. I have. I remember when Victor Wind had like a small display of some of their stuff. It had come up to London to the Last Tuesday Society, and he had a few bits and pieces in there, but there was nothing like that. So I don't know. Don't know.
It is tricky. It is tricky,
Mm,
and it's trying to get it so that people are interested and they'll look at all of
mm,
it and know
yeah,
that it's authentic. The cauldron gets a lot of attention when we've done like little
yeah.
pop-up events. We always take the cauldron.
That's quite heavy to carry around as part
It's
of your
not massive.
kit. Oh, is it
It's
not?
no, it's only a little
Okay.
one, so that's fine. That's enough.
So I was picturing this like, almost a bath. We can get in and the bubbles coming out. But it's not quite like that. So what do you hope people will kind of get from the experience of coming to the museum?
um, that is a very good question. Loads of things. First, I think firstly is education,
Mm,
that they learn a bit more about the history of Essex and how bad it was, why it was known as Witch County. Also, learning that there were quite a lot of firsts, like the first person to ever be hanged for witchcraft was actually in Chelmsford,
mm,
where the assizes site was, where they hanged them, how they hanged them, which is quite brutal.
mm,
And then being able to see and interact with some of the things that we are able to put on display,
mm,
and just everyone's always interested in their local history, and
mm.
there is tons. It's very, very old part of the world,
Yeah.
and lots of again Celtic and pagan
Mm,
roots around Essex. So it's nice to kind of remind people where this all came from. Chelmsford itself is known for being the home of radio, because it's where Marconi invented radio,
oh,
and that's always the biggest feature. Like,
yeah.
oh look, we didn't do terrible things to women. We got
We
Marconi
invented the
radio.
radio.
Yeah.
That's like Hastings, somewhere near Hastings, like the film camera or something. There's a place called Film or something, and the film camera was invented or film was invented or something. And it's like, but really, it's about a big battle, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think it just kind of gets lost a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, So we would like people to come and be more immersive in some of the history and how important it was, and even look at, they still use the term witch trials today when someone's getting persecuted for something. It's a witch hunt, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sort of educating people where this all stemmed from and why, and trying to just collect as much information and as much physical artifacts as we possibly can.
And so obviously you can't know the story of every single one of those, accused, but
No.
do you know, are there any of the accused, or, I'm going to call them the witches, that they probably weren't witches, but like, are there any of them that you really do know, a lot about?
Yeah, there's quite a few. There's quite a few. And this is where Emma's spent so much time in the records office, because history records back then are not as thorough and clear as they probably would be these days. The way they recorded things was quite intermittent and irregular. So at the moment, some of the people she's been looking into, she's trying to find out what happened to them afterwards, if they were persecuted and then taken to trial and were pardoned. Where did they end up? Where did they go? What happened to these women? What happened to these people? But there are some of I have a book that lists all of the first lot of trials and what the women were there for, how many times they were there for, the first witch that was hanged, the one that was known as the first witch, some of the torture victims from Matthew Hopkins, and I have immersed myself in trying to find out the stories and the information. So there are some of the people that I talk most about, that I've learnt the most about, because it's been relevant and important to the stories. But but there were so many, and like if you look at the numbers, there were nearly 1,000 people that were indicted. It is so hard, and those are the ones that were recorded. There were probably more. There were probably villagers that had their local vigilante that took it upon themselves to help the cause of banishing witches. It's never going to be 100%. Even the numbers themselves that we've released at the moment, they change all the time. The more research you do, they change. So we're trying to keep things as up to date and as factual as we possibly can.
So hang on, I need to look at my questions here. I'm like,
That's okay.
because we've answered some of them without me actually asking them.
Amazing.
So we've answered those ones, on another page. Well, we're coming up to spooky season. So, oh no, hang on. I have got a good question. Here it is. If you could step back in time and meet one historical witch from Essex, who would it be?
Oh. I don't know. I don't know if I've got the balls to meet any of them because of how much they suffered. I would have liked to have met the first witch, I think, Elizabeth Lowes. I would have, because she was, as far as all of the indictments and suffering, she was trialed and hanged in the same day.
Wow.
She didn't have to suffer for an unknown amount of time. And I would have liked to have met her to understand her personality more, because she was accused for ages for so many different things.
Right.
She was in the trials, the early trials, countless times. Her name was in there. And I'm curious to know what kind of person she was that made
Does
her...
it tell you? Does it tell you like what reason
No.
she's been accused each time? It doesn't tell you anything.
It tells you roughly. So, she was accused of all sorts. She was accused of making cattle sick and things going wrong in the village. She was accused of bewitching her own husband. And I'm like, oh, she must have been putting out some moves between the sheets.
Well, then you wonder who actually accused her. Like, was it men accusing her? Was it women accusing her? Like, it's like, who does
you don't know who. There's no record of who accused her for what thing. It was is accused for this.
Right.
The cat was sick, and we have it on authority that it was Elizabeth. I mean, one of the wildest stories about Elizabeth was she had an argument. She was a spinner, a midwife, and a healer.
Oh God!
She was all
she was like, she had no chance.
No, but one of the famous stories about one of the accusations, there was another spinner in the village and they had this massive argument publicly.
A spinning war.
And then she accused her of being a witch because there were rumours that she was a witch. And she said, if it be as folks say, thou art a witch. And then she retorted and said, if I be a witch, then the devil be witch. And because they were having this argument, at those words, this woman fell on the floor and convulsed.
Right.
Nowadays, we probably know that as something like epilepsy brought on by the stress of the argument and the situation in itself. But because of the timing of words and that she was already under suspicion, oh, well, that's it. That's, you cursed her.
Yeah. I wish you could sometimes, I wish we had that kind of power.
Yeah. Although, if someone upsets me that much, I will put them in a jar.
Yeah. Can you tell us about a few more of the other prominent witches and their stories?
The other one that is the most famous in Essex that you will see if you watch the documentary with Rylan is Agnes Waterhouse.
Right.
And she had a very unfortunate story. She's got a wild story, actually. She ended up being hanged when she was 64, which, to be fair, in those days was quite an age.
Yeah. I think people were lucky if they made it to 40, weren't they? Was it the 17th century?
Yes.
1600s?
No, 16th. Yeah,
right,
was the
okay.
first, 16th century.
Right.
In the 1500s. So she, one of the rumours with Agnes, for years, Agnes was believed to have been the first woman in Essex and the country to be hanged for witchcraft.
Right.
Wasn't, it was Elizabeth, but for years, that's what the museum says, it was Agnes. And, she still deserves her moment in the sun.
Yeah.
She was rumoured to have had a demonic cat that did her bidding. That she
I've got a demonic cat.
I've got a demonic cat now. But this cat, I've got a book about Agnes, and it's all written it's from her original lot of trials.
Right.
And it's all written in Old English, so you have to kind of learn to try and translate it a bit. And the cat had a very unusual name, especially for those times. In Old English, the cat's name was Sathan.
Sathan, right.
Which in modern English is Satan.
Right.
It was rumoured that the cat spoke back to her in this low, hollow voice and that she sent it to do her wicked bidding if someone had upset her. But they really believed this. They really believed this cat was her familiar, or her imp, as they called them, and was out doing her bidding. In the end, she did confess to being a witch for about 25 years. Because she had been up in trials so many times.
But she just got thick of it and thought,
yeah.
Give in.
Her daughter Joan as well was also accused of being a witch because obviously her mother. And in her last trial, her daughter testified against her.
Wow.
But you have to speculate, did she do it to just get herself off the hook? Or did she do it because Agnes said to her, look, I've lived my life, I've had enough. Free yourself, I'll take the rap, stand up against me, my life's over, good luck. You don't know. You don't know.
It could be either of those things. Like, she may have been ill.
She may.
So it was like an easy way of, out if there was, if it wasn't going to get better.
No.
Because I've been to somewhere around St. Osyth. Was there what's still there? I'm sure I've gone on a walk and that you're meant to be able to see there was where someone was in a cage at one point or something.
Yeah, St. Osyth has a huge history.
Right.
I don't know a huge deal about St. Osyth.
Right.
I know that they had a very strange way of trying to, I don't know what the word is, it's not banishing. When they had executed a witch, they used to stake them into the grave with metal to make sure they couldn't rise and come back.
Yeah.
But there are places that you can go and still see where some of them were actually, like you say, kept in cages and in prison. I'm trying to research more about St. Osyth at the moment because it is a pinnacle. I have got a book, and because they all were sent to Chelmsford to actually be trialled, there were so many links that end up coming back to Chelmsford. But St. Osyth has got lots of mad witch history as well. And Canewdon is another place near Southend.
Right.
Canoodan, it's rumoured that if at midnight on Halloween you walk round their church counterclockwise 3 times, the devil will appear.
I wonder how many people try it every year.
I don't know. I don't know.
People must try it, you know. It's
I
like
don't,
saying Bloody Mary 3 times into a mirror, isn't it? Like
yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
tried it, and see what happens.
But
So
yeah,
what?
they have an active witch group at the moment. They've got what's called a moot, and it's
Mhm.
one of the largest around. I'm going to attend their moot tomorrow. Actually, they've invited me to go and have a look, so we'll see.
What happens at a moot?
Loads of things. They do have speakers and stuff. They've asked me to do some speaking at it tomorrow night, and they have like rituals and spell sharing and blessings and all pagan-y stuff. Yeah, it's cool. The lady that runs it's amazing. She's really nice. She's like proper old school witch. I love her.
Oh. So what film, TV series, or book do you think more realistically portrays the real witch trials? Not necessarily Essex ones, but just witch trials in general.
Oh no, that I don't know. I don't think I've ever watched a movie that's based on trials themselves.
Mm.
Have I? I don't think I have. I've
Or
watched like witchy character
yeah,
sitcoms.
or okay, so what do you think would represent like what people were really like and that they were being accused?
Not oldie schooly ones,
No.
more modern. No, I liked the way they did the Sabrina series. I mean, I loved Sabrina when
The
I was a
new
kid.
series, like
Yeah, the new series.
not the 90s.
No, but I
Mm.
loved the 90s one. You
Yeah.
know, that was
It's
good.
completely different, isn't it? Like I never saw the
So
new one coming when they were like, well, we're remaking Sabrina. And it's like it's just a completely different thing.
yeah, but they've got a lot of the rituals and the belief systems around witchcraft quite correct in that.
Right.
So I liked it for that. I don't think I've ever watched anything that's super historical about it though, other than
Yeah.
documentaries.
Right. Okay, so as we're coming up to spooky season, before we talk about all the fundraising and stuff for the museum, what witchy films would you recommend for spooky season? Obviously, I'm always going to say Hocus Pocus because it's amazing.
I do love that. It is a good the first one.
Yeah. Do you know, I watched
What
the second one though more recently because I watched it. I was super excited about it coming out, and I was like, oh my God, they're making a sequel. You know, like with Top Gun, they made a sequel like that many years later, and it was incredible. So I was hoping that Hocus Pocus was going to kind of do the same thing. And then I was like, oh, they've just
yeah.
literally ruined the memory of Hocus Pocus. But I watched it again the other day. And the second time round, I think I was a little bit more forgiving, and I was like, well, you know, it's still fun. I mean, it's nowhere near as good as the original, but
No.
it's, you know, it's watchable. But I'm nervous about Practical Magic too because
I was just gonna say Practical Magic, yeah, because that I love that movie so
yeah,
much. But yeah, I've seen that they're doing a second, and I'm like,
yeah.
oh, I don't know how to
But
feel
it's
about
not
it.
like yeah, but it is based on another book in the series, so it's not like a just completely like come out of nowhere, like just a script. So hopefully, and it's actually they're in Essex.
Really?
Yeah, so it's because of this curse, like the Owen's curse that's been on the women for hundreds of years, they had relatives like in Essex and they go to Essex to
See?
so yeah, so I don't know whether they actually filmed it there or they're probably in a studio somewhere. Like I
Yeah.
don't know,
Oh,
but
that's really cool.
yeah, so there
Okay.
is I feel like I just learned that on your webs on like your Facebook actually.
It's possible. I know that there was an interview with a lady
Alice
recently.
Hoffman.
Yes, that's it.
Writer. Yeah, she actually
Yeah.
mentioned I literally just read it, so I researched it from your site.
Okay. And I know I'm so bad because the between the directors we all have our little roles.
Yeah.
When I'm caught up with stuff, I'll see they share a link saying we've just released this on our website, and I'm like, I need to go read that, and then I don't go and read it. It's so bad.
So what are the different roles as the directors?
We've all got kind of different experience and backgrounds, really.
Mm.
Um, one of our directors is more kind of business minded, accounting, all of that side of
Mhm.
things. We've got fundraising, we've got people that have links with like bookshops and events and event organisation and the researching itself. So we all bring different things to all amalgamate everything so that we're all getting it as right as we possibly can anyway.
So when are you hoping to open?
We're hoping next year.
Next year.
We're hoping next year. The earlier the better, as far as I'm concerned, but obviously it depends on logistics.
Yeah. How can people get involved in fundraising?
We've got links on our socials, on our website. We've got little events that we go to and do little pop-ups and things like that, so people can come and buy things that help obviously go towards funding. Anything I do is a paid event, as a talk, I put the money back into the museum. And the same with my walk events. I will, as of next year, be putting my prices up and giving 20% of my earnings to the museum as a fundraising. So anything really. We've got, I think, I don't know if it's a Just Giving, it is a donation QR code on our pages and on our website, that if people wanted to support us, they absolutely could. We've also got involved with some local businesses as well. Local tattooist who, she said out of her witchy collection that a 20% donation will be made to the museum.
Oh, amazing. I want to come and get a witchy tattoo, but I'm so far away.
I
feel like I need like a film or something to come up in like in Chelmsford so that I can find, a reason to travel down and then get a witchy tattoo.
Hell yes.
Cool. Well, do you know what? Something will happen now. It always works out like that, doesn't it? Like there'll be a reason now that I need to be in Chelmsford. So I'll let you know, because I'd love to go on one of your
let me know.
walks
I'll
as well.
show you the sites.
That'd be super interesting. I actually love a walking tour. I love going on a walking tour and learning, history and things. So
perfect.
it'd be amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I think it's going to be really, really interesting and like super fun one for my Halloween season on the podcast.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. See you soon.
Bye.